go for it. Are you
Fantastic.
both recording or also
I'm doing
video?
both, and I'm not sure. I'm definitely doing video, video and
I'm
voice.
going to change it.
It will, no, that's a good shirt. It's going to look like you're seeing on the screen here. So today I'm talking with Andrea Francolini, and I was reading before, Andrea, that you've been in Australia for 20 years this year.
Yeah,
That's
on the
pretty
12th of
exciting.
December was my birthday.
Congratulations. Congratulations. So, I mean, you arrived in Australia. You were a photographer when you arrived here?
Yes. So I
Yes.
started taking pictures of boats, I think 23 years ago now.
Right. Why
And
boats?
oh, why boats? Good question. Because I was following a cousin of mine
Yeah.
who used to sail 470s on Lake Garda and Lake Como in Italy.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't sail and I still don't sail after all these years,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I just liked him and we really got along. So I just started taking pictures of him while he was sailing. I could get on a jury boat or whatever I could find
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
time. And bear in mind, the camera was an automatic. I confess, it's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that. And I got started and I loved it. And I realized really quickly that one, you get to see some nice places because these were like club regattas. So it was, I mean, yes, it was fierce on the water, but then in the evening, you're on Lake Como for crying out loud. You go
Yeah.
have a nice
Yeah.
dinner somewhere and the
Amazing.
setting's beautiful. So I just started doing that and following them on weekends, which was great. And then
Yeah.
I remember doing my first big regatta, Swan Cup in Sardinia. And for me, it was absolutely like, wow, I'm with the big boats,
Yeah.
fantastic. And bear in mind, I'd never sold a picture for the past year at least. And this was a
Yeah.
day of film. So I was just shooting. And yeah, then one thing after another. I was a graphic designer to start and then started giving my pictures to a photo agency in Milan. They started publishing a thing or two. And one day I had my break on Lake Garda where there was a well-known yachting photographer who couldn't cover an event. And he called me saying, listen, do what you can. I'm like, yeah, I'll show you what I can do. And I covered the event and I got my first pictures published in Italy. And yeah, the rest is history.
Oh, that's so fantastic. So you rocked up in Australia. You had a folio of boats. Is that kind of what?
Look,
Who?
I came to Australia. The only business card I had was the business card of the editor at the time, Simon Kent from Australian Yachting.
Yeah.
And I had that business card in Italy at the agency I was working for, and I
Yeah.
photocopied it. I said, this
Yeah.
is the only contact I have in Australia. So I showed up
Amazing.
2 days later after I landed, and I said, look, I'm here. I want to show you some stuff. And I had a portfolio of jobs that I had. I mean, nothing compared to today, but I had something to show. And he was like, yeah, that's great. Here are 2 rolls of film. There's the Pittwater to Coffs race on January 2nd. Go cover it. And if you get good pictures, so much the better. If you don't, nice meeting you. And so obviously those 2 rolls of film went very quickly and I added my own rolls of film, but I got my first cover shot out of it. And then the relationship built. And until the magazine was still being printed, a couple of years ago, I've been working with them ever since.
200
And
covers. 200 covers you've had.
I
Over
think it's
200
a
covers.
touch more, yeah, a touch more than that. And they are a big, like all the editors that went through that magazine, I've always had really good relationships with them. And yeah, so it's really nice. I'm very pleased with that. And for me, it wasn't much of the paycheck. Yeah, okay, it was not great at the time, but I just arrived. I was able to pay my rent with that, and then my name was everywhere. So
Amazing.
besides the fact
Yeah.
that a lot of people thought I was a girl, but that's you get that from a town like mine. But it was yeah. So when I started having a client, and then they'd see their picture, and I got their boat on the cover of the magazine, they're like, "Oh wow, we never had a cover shot." I'm like, "Well, there you go." So it built up after that, and then
Yeah.
now, yes, we're working with big super maxis, and but even I mean, I like any kind of boat. Yes, super maxis are amazing. The old classic yachts are amazing. Olympic classes are amazing. Like every class has its own charisma.
And you've covered the Sydney to Hobart how many times?
This year would have been my 21st.
Wow.
But
Wow.
it's not.
So yeah, but it's not. Next year.
Yeah.
And so what does it take to cover something like the Sydney to Hobart? Where do you start? What do you do?
Look, I remember up until 2005, I was shooting the Sydney to Hobart from a press boat. And it was very hard because, as you know, you've seen the pictures. Once you leave the heads, the amount of wash that bounces off the heads and comes back in the middle with all the spectators, It's beautiful. It makes for good effects because you have waves, even if they're not any, but
Yeah.
it's really hard to follow the boats. And then
Yeah.
over the years, the boats got a little bit faster. You had Alfa Romeo, you had Waldotes and all those guys, and it started getting a little bit too fast. And one year I realized that I shot the Sydney to Hobart maybe for 30 minutes from a boat, and then that's it, because they're already out to sea. You can't follow them, and you come back home. So I was like, wait a minute, there's this whole hoo-ha about a race, and I'm only shooting for 30 minutes. There's something wrong. So
I need to get up there.
yeah, no, I need to get up there. So I had to ask, a client asked me to shoot for them for the first time. And I said, we have to shoot it from the helicopter. No, we don't have a budget, blah, 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 usual stuff. And I had the guts to say, fine, no problem. I'll do it my way. So I just said yes. I booked my helicopter, and the fee that I got from them paid for the chopper, and I didn't get paid that day. But I did it, proved my point, sold a lot of prints, which helped a little bit. But
Yeah.
from that year onwards, the client always said, and it was for the next 13, 14 years, shoot it from the helicopter. And I was like, really? Okay.
Amazing.
So
And
ever since I've been doing that.
do those photographs get syndicated around the world? Do you work through a photo agency, or how do they get
So
picked up?
I used to work, yeah, I used to work in the early days. I was working with an agency in Paris, and they would be able to sell some stuff if there were good conditions. Bear in mind, I was competing because Rolex came in very quickly as a sponsor. I was competing with their photographers, and they're giving pictures out for free to the media, because that's the way the whole media works. The event
Yeah.
would distribute the pictures. So I was competing with that kind of stuff. The advantage I had is that either I had my clients, so therefore I had access to going on board some boats, which they didn't, or I just would shoot boats from Europe, from France or Italy, and
Right.
it would be an aimed sail. Like, if there was
Yeah.
a very famous a French sailor who came here to do it, I'd follow him. I'd try to get portraits, because I knew that the other photographers were limited in what they could do. So you just have to try and find a different angle, because I
Find
knew
an
that on the
angle
water,
and a market.
yeah, they had photographers in the water, on the water and on the air, and I'm just a one-man show. So it's
And what's your preferred way to cover an event? Are you preferring to be in the chopper? Do you like being on the boat? Do you like being in a chase boat? What's your preferred way?
It's a tricky question, because this year, even though we had a little bit of sailing, I went on InfoTrack for a training session, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we had 44 knots of wind.
Oh
And
my
it was
gosh.
absolutely mind-blowing. And we went out the heads, and we knew a front was coming. Like, I knew there would be wind in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So we're leaving the heads, and I just asked the skipper, I said, which way are we going? I said, oh, there's a southerly coming in, so we're just going to turn right at Sydney Heads and go get it. I'm like, oh, like can't we wait for the
Tell me
southerly to
you
come
didn't
back?
fly a kite coming back.
Oh no, because we were reaching, but like we did 25 knots boat speed, which was amazing. And the amount
Incredible.
of water that came over the bow was just, it was amazing. Like, my calf muscles were hurting the next day, but it was just, I think it was the best day I've had on board. And we were lucky because the southerly hit, we were still going upwind, but it wasn't too rough. By the time we turned around and we started reaching back home, we were 16 miles offshore.
Right.
There was a bit of sea, but the wind
Yeah.
was like, 40 knots of wind, and everybody was like, oh my God, come on, 38, 39, gusted to 40. And I'm not going to say the word that was said, but every now and then someone said, holy, and then it went to 41, 42, and then it got to gust to 44, and then it went back down to 43.8. And that was like, holy cow. And I've never been in wind that, like, with those conditions. And it was amazing. So being on board, it's great, because you see the crew working, you get wet and all that kind of stuff. So you have action that you don't see that often. It would have been an amazing day in a helicopter too. But,
yeah. What do you think, how do you start to actually convey the essence of sailing? What for you, I was looking on your Facebook page just before, and I saw a photograph of some hands, and the hands were quite blistered and salty. And, I love that just as much as and there's a beautiful photograph of a skipper through a curl of rope. And, you must be always looking for those angles, but what do you look for to actually convey the essence?
I look for something different. It's going to sound a bit arrogant, but I'm sick of taking boats, because everybody's seen a boat plow through a wave, and it's always beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm the first one to do it, but been there, done that. Like, I want to show, no one talks about the people. Yeah, you talk about the owner, because they're the ones that have the boat and all that kind of stuff. But without the crew, boats don't go anywhere. So, even the hand series that I started a while ago is, that's the only point of contact besides your feet that you have on a boat. and they're the ones that do the work. So it's finding different angles. It's doing close-up portraits, so you see all the lines on the face, the salt, and you understand how hard it is. One of my dreams was to do a portrait series after the Hobart, where everybody gets off the boat and literally get off the boat and stand in front of my backdrop, where you see that they're burnt, you see the eyes are red, and you're like, wow, what have these people been through? Oh, so just a fun sailboat race.
Yes, so we do it for fun. We choose to be there.
You choose to be there. I'm your choice, not mine. But it's I don't know. You have to find something different. Otherwise, it's always the same thing. And I'm the first one. If I get bored when I'm editing my pictures, there's a good chance the client's going to get bored, and obviously you can't afford that. So
and you've just been covering in Sydney the race at CYC, the classic yacht trophy. I think that's what it's called, isn't it? The classic yacht. Yeah, classic. Yeah.
Anyway, one of those.
One of those. And we'll share some of the images, your images of Nerida, Kealoha 2, Kintail, Anitra 5, Defiance. They're absolutely stunning. They're stunning images. You were mentioning before we started about the interiors of these boats. Tell me first about the regatta, and then the
the regatta unfortunately only happens once a year. And now I'm looking into a personal project that I want to start. But all the boats were at the sea, all of them, 3 or 4 of them went to the pond of the CYC, and they all their battle flags. I mean, they were kept in pristine condition, and it's beautiful to see. Now, I've been here 20 years, yes, but I have been back to Europe a couple of times for sailing, or when I used to live there. The whole circuit from Imperia, Cannes, Monte Carlo, Cannes, and Saint-Tropez, the classic yachts, is a huge event in Europe that lasts almost a month. And you see the classic yachts that you see in all the history books, Twiga, Velsheda, and all those guys are there. Coming here, not seeing a classic yacht, I was like, something missing. So when I see these guys come out sailing, I'm like, this is fantastic. It's beautiful, and you don't see enough of them. So having them on the water was great. We had light conditions, but they're still majestic. I mean, these boats are beautiful just to look at them full sail, just because the design's different, the shapes are different, the sails are different. But I've seen them also a couple of times in rough conditions, and they still punch through, and they do it. You know, they're built solidly, so it's beautiful to see. And the other day I was at the CYC a little bit too early, just because I need to find parking, and I was just looking at the boats, and I was like, wow, I wonder what's inside. And that just gave me an idea. Unfortunately, a little bit too late, but I'm going to start it in the new year. Let's go shoot the interiors of these boats, because I would say maybe 10% of the population has seen them. And it would be something nice to show. And there's so much craftsmanship when you look at the details and all that kind of stuff, that'll be absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I think there's this fabulous term which is, a gentleman's day boat, or a gentleman's racer. And so they had that sort of very clubby feel down below, which, is quite cocoon-like.
But it's the attention to detail.
It is, yes, yeah. And so when it comes to photographing a plastic boat or a classic boat, what are the different shapes? Tell me about that. What are you seeing that's different?
First of all, the shape of the hull is obviously very different to the modern boats that we see today. And therefore, if you're on the leeward side of the boat from behind, the waves are different. Even on the on the windward side, the waves are, just because they cut through the water in a different way, they're a lot lower. The what do you call it?
Top sides of the boat.
They're a lot lower, so very often with the wave they'll go underwater even if you're in the harbor. So it's as I said, it's elegant, it's a different shape, and the water reacts in a different way. So if I'm getting a maxi on the leeward side, and you know that the moment the maxi passes you, the wake comes up in a certain way, that's fine, it's going to happen. With the classic yachts, I've seen in very little wind, the wake doesn't come the same way, but on the side it moves in a different way. And since everybody's sitting on the rail and their feet are almost touching the water, it looks like there's a bigger sea than what there actually is. So visually it's different. The proportions are different. It's the way of seeing it. And then, as I said, I mean, I love them. I find them, they're elegant, and they still perform, which people say, oh, old man boat. But no, I don't think so. There are no electric winches on board, so you have to do it the old-fashioned.
The hard work boats. Well, we're trying very hard to get a classic division at. It's 4 years since we had a classic division at Hamilton Island, so we're going to start on SWS to push to get one again for this year, 2020.
But not only Hamilton, You have to do. I don't know if you've ever been up to Magnet. Well, yeah, you have
Yes,
Magnetic.
yeah.
I took that.
We got a cover from you. We were on a cover of Magnetic.
So you know how beautiful it is up there too.
Yeah,
And
I love it.
It would be great to have boats like that. But
Yeah.
so now this new project, it's a personal one, and it's just a passion. Also because I have to fill up the hole in the month of January because of school holidays this year. And I've already contacted people last night. I've already had 5 of them answer, yes, by all means, come over.
Fantastic.
It's to show the interiors of all the boats. And then once we can get that happening, I will be in touch with you when we can travel normally and come down to Melbourne if there's a big event. And for 2 days, shoot on the water, and then in the morning,
definitely.
get
Well, we can put a link on the SWS forum as well as a shout out to people, because there's, particularly up in Pittwater, and there's some absolutely, you're totally clued into all of those guys. I'm going to be sharing some of those stunning images that you made that are almost like, they're quite skeletal, the boats of the photographs of the Cuda boat. How did that come about?
Well, that was pretty cool, because another thing that you don't see that often is a boat being built. Like, everybody builds boats, but you don't see it. And years ago, I think it was 2004, Nicorette was being built, the Maxi.
Yeah.
And same thing, I was working for them, and they said, yeah, the boat will be ready, we'll do sea trials. I'm like, well, wait a minute, what about the building phase, the people who build it, and all that kind of stuff? And so I started doing that, and you'd be amazed how many people don't know what a honeycomb looks like.
Right.
Trust me, you'd be amazed.
Yeah.
So it's I find it very interesting. So I heard that this guy was building a Cuda boat, which obviously is all wood, and immediately my eyes were like, whoa, wait a minute, what do you mean wood? And let's go see this thing. And I took the pictures. It was very cluttered. Like, if the Cuda boat's 28 feet long, I think his shed is 28 feet and a half. Like, literally, you close the doors and you just have to shove it in a little bit and make it fit. And it's amazing what he was making, but there was a lot of distractions around, and you couldn't get a clear shot or anything like that. So I just said, you know what, I'm gonna take advantage of Photoshop, just depatch everything, put a black and white. I love black and white, and make it look a little bit more dramatic.
Well, they're just, I mean, they're just extraordinarily sculptural, aren't they? They're just it just really makes you so appreciate the shape of the hull. But also, I love the way that you left one of the tools involved as well. And it was just, they were beautiful.
You'd be amazed how many people had no idea it was a 28-foot boat.
Yeah.
Like, everybody thought it was a lot bigger than that.
Yeah.
Someone said, oh, we're building a Viking boat in Sydney. I said, nope, not a Viking boat.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, it's behind the scenes. Then, yes, of course, when the boat's sailing, I'll take pictures of it because I've been following it, so might as well do it to complete the project. But yeah, those pictures are,
well, there's nice. Just so incredibly timeless. And that was such a beautiful quote that you had on your Facebook page the other day. Quality is not afraid of time. I love that. It was such a poignant phrase, particularly for SWS. But obviously with that Cuda boat, when you see that shape, it made me, I was thinking, I wonder what the oldest boat is that's been found. And it was a Viking boat in Germany, found 2,000 years ago. And the craftsmanship was very, very similar, arguably the same. It's bent planks, steamed planks, it's over ribs. It's quite amazing. We will have a lot of amateur photographers keen to know how to take a picture of their boat. If they can, more than welcome to get in touch with you and employ you for your services. But what would be 3 things that you would say for people that are heading out on the water this summer and want to take a beautiful picture of their boat?
Okay, the first thing, and you're going to laugh, is you have to keep your camera dry.
Yeah.
I know it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's important.
How do you do that?
I have a Pelican case. Yeah. Which is it's one of those waterproof cases that I think you can even drive on top and nothing happens.
Yeah, that's the housing, or that's what you keep your camera in.
It's a suitcase.
Yeah.
And I put that on the rib that I'm working on, and once it's closed, nothing goes in.
Yeah.
And then, so if I'm on a rib, I'll take out the camera. There's no protection. Obviously, you keep an eye on the waves and put it around your jacket. So that's one way to do it. Well, that's the only way to do it. When you're on board, like I was on board in Foot Track the other day, I had one camera going upwind And then the moment we went downwind, I knew we were going to get wet. I went downstairs, got another camera that was in a soft underwater housing, and I just had it around my neck. And even if a wave hit me, couldn't care less because the thing's waterproof.
Yeah.
And so yeah, keeping your camera dry, it sounds dumb, but it's quite a vital, quite
dry camera, number one. Number two.
Yeah, number two, to get a good picture, I don't know, it takes practice, but you have to just look at the boat. Don't rush into it. And I mean, yes, I've been doing it for 20 odd years now, so I know what angles look good, but just look at the boat. If you like it, like I do not like taking pictures of boats with full masts and full hull. It's something that really, it goes against my nature because I'm more of an aggressive photographer. I want you to open the magazine and see the bow jumping out at you. Like I'm more of an action kind of person. But when it comes to the classic yachts, even though it's a classic picture and I qualify it as boring, but it's the only way to see the class and the design of the boat. So there are pictures, I think I even did it with your boat, but even Dorade when it was in Hamilton Island or here in Sydney, it's full boat and the opera house in the background. So you need those kind of pictures. They're timeless, they're old, but it's the only way to see the boat properly. Then if you get the right
the whole shape.
You need that because they're so different to what, like today we're used to seeing foils and maxis and all that. So it's nice to remind people. So if you like full boats and landscapes because there's a good backdrop, by all means do it. If you like close-ups, it's a question of don't get in the trap of shooting always the same thing. Like I've seen photographers come back from a day on the water where they've been on the boat with me and I look at their, looking at their computer while they're editing and it's always the same composition. And you're like, dude, come on, like
come on, break out.
Yeah, but if you're not used to it or not comfortable, I understand that. And it could be their way of seeing things. Like there's a really well-known photographer, Richard Bennett, who whenever he was on the boat with me, I would really make fun of him saying, Richard, are you taking a picture of a boat with half of Australia behind it? And then just look at it. You're being a wise, I'm not going to say this, but being wise today, are we? So yes, I am. But he made a whole, like there are some of his pictures which you can put in a living room, you can put in a boardroom.
Yes.
You don't have to be a sailor to appreciate it because and his pictures have amazing light sometimes.
Yeah.
And
so he's working with light and nature and the environment.
Absolutely. It's an easier picture for my mother to understand. My sailing pictures, you'd have to be more of a sailor to appreciate it on your wall. So there are many ways to do it. But look, get out there, put the camera down and just look at the boat and see what looks nice.
And your final tip?
And then try to get.
And then try again. Yeah.
Yeah, try again, probably.
Try again. I might add to that as well, because I think the coming back to your point about the people and the crew, I think that's equally as important as the boat itself.
Absolutely.
I think from my own experience, I can't go sailing on my own. I need a crew, and
Exactly.
sharing the stories and the faces and the experience. And I mean, what I would give to be back on Magnetic Island and sailing in t-shirts, coming from Melbourne. We wear a lot of wet weather gear down here.
I know and I remember. But there's like I have a project in mind that I wanted to do about sailing. Yeah. But you're not going to see a sailboat in the project. Like you're not going to see a piece of a boat. It's all other things related to boats, but that there's a boat in the background. So you have to find those different things.
Fantastic.
But without people, we know it won't go anywhere.
Thank you very, very much for your time today. That it's been absolutely fantastic chatting with you. I look forward to seeing, I'm seeing all these portraits unfolding, and you say you're doing more stuff about the portraits. I think your idea of the portraits of the sailors, I can't believe nobody's done that before at the end of a Sydney to Hobart. Seems to me to be a no-brainer. What a fantastic idea.
I agree. But, the other thing is when you're doing a Hobart, you are busy.
Yeah.
So to do something like that, it would have to be a year that I'm paid by somebody to go down, shoot their boat, and then I have 3 days where I'm free to do absolutely what I want.
Yeah.
So it takes a little bit of organization, but it's something that, I might be able to do one day. The ideas are there, then they'll pop up at the right time.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time. Merry Christmas to you.
My pleasure.
Merry Christmas.